Oh, my microphone wasn't working. Hi. I'm like looking down. I'm like, why is that little line not moving? Hi. Can I try this again? Good morning. It is August the 4th. I was just trying to be cute and say, can you believe it's August already? But here we are. Now you can at least hear me. It is 8:01 in the morning. Oh, I'm having a case of Mondays on a Friday, apparently. It is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather. And it is beautiful outside. Look at that shot. The Vehicle Assembly Building, Kennedy Space Center. I see vehicles moving. Commerce is happening. The gateway to space in our backyard. And it is looking like a great day. Hope you're having a great start to the day in your neighborhood. Our first warning, live Doppler radar. Scanning around, not finding anything. It is a nice and quiet start to the day. Temperature-wise, it's 80 degrees in Orlando. It's 79 in Claremont, 76 in the Villages, 77 degrees in Ocala, and 75 in Palm Coast. So, where do we go from here? It's 92 by 1 o'clock, a partly cloudy sky turning to a mostly cloudy sky, and we will see a few showers and thunder showers, but it's not going to be a wickedly active day. It's going to be a fairly nice, quiet day. It's going to be a hot day. 94 degrees, our high temperature today. 94 in Orlando. Kissimmee, if you're heading out to the tourist district, it's going to be hot. Look at Sanford. 96 degrees. Even the beaches are going to be in the 90s. But there's going to be some heat. There's going to be some humidity. There's going to be some schwitzen happening. It's a hot day. It's a hot day. So that's kind of where we're at. Gotta love that, right? And in comparison, the muggy meter kind of showing yesterday was steamy, today's humid. We're building in more humidity this weekend, and what that's going to end up doing is that's going to end up at least making us feel a little muggier, but helping us develop a few showers and thunder showers. Now let's get right over to Futurecast, okay? Here's 8 o'clock this morning. Beautiful. Confirmed beautiful out, right? Like we'll go through time and you can see a couple of popcorn showers trying to get going around 2, 3 o'clock. But there will be a little bit of rain around 6, 7 o'clock and then kind of into tonight, nice and quiet. Now, let's take Futurecast and continue running it. Let's just go all the way ahead to your Saturday morning. Making plans, doing your thing, looking great. Partly cloudy skies, looking fantastic. You can see, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. You can see a little bit of rain out west around the early afternoon, kind of skirting through the metro early in the day, and then kind of settling down thereafter. So an early start to our Saturday rains. Sunday, what's interesting is Futurecast is trying to throw together some heavier stuff out west around sunrise. Now, I'll be tracking that on West 2 News Sunrise on Sunday morning, so there's that. Then we get the thunderstorms firing up into the afternoon. So when we look at the next few days, you'll notice, and we're keeping the rain boots, so if anybody doesn't like the background, see yesterday's Coffee Talk, but we're keeping the rain chances right around average. 40%, 50%, that's about average for us. More 50-50, so maybe a little below to right about average, but it's going to be pretty nice. It's going to be pretty hot, though. Let's talk about temperatures over the next couple of afternoons. Let's change gears and look. Out and about, you're going to want to find a body of water to jump into. Going to the backyard swimming pool, going to the lake, going to the beaches, 94s, 95s. Yeah, it's going to be hot. It's not record heat, I'll have you know. Like, putting it into perspective, it's not records, but feels like temperatures are going to be crossing the century mark each day. Can we handle that? Sure. Do we do that on a pretty regular basis this time of year? Sure. Is it my job to still tell you it's going to be hot as Hades? Sure. So that's kind of where we're at. Backyard swimming pool, though, go. Be one with that swimming pool. Do something. Do something with your life. That's where we're at, okay? Questions about that? Otherwise, we've got some things to talk about in the tropics. Anything? Before we move on, I'll just pop up the 12-hour forecast and we can say good morning to each other. Good morning to you. Laura says, we love the rain boots. Very good, Laura. Good morning to you. I need to do your job today, Laura. I need to mow the yard. Pat, good morning to you. Deb says, been late. Daughter still has COVID. Sending all the good vibes to your house. Karen, good morning. Steph's asking, what is the espresso that you drink? It's Pilon, and I love it. It's the only thing that gets me through the day. Yep. It's my job to complain about the heat every year, Chris. It's true, and there are people that take their job about complaining very seriously, so I understand that. Listen, if there weren't trolls, would there even be an internet, Chris? Right? Anthony's asking Tropics. Oh, we are going to talk Tropics. Plenty. But before we talk Tropics, I just want to make sure everybody's good. Carol says, what's coming for next week? Heading to Tampa for dog shows. So let's look at the 7-day forecast together, and then we can look to the Tropics. All right. But as far as next week goes, we're going to kind of keep this hot, some storms kind of pattern. In other words, Florida's going to Florida. Yeah. Anne Reese says, taking a road trip to Buc-ee's. I love it. You see, I have to say you look amazing. I see you all the time, but thought I would let you know. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Licia, is that how you say your name? Thank you. That's a random act of kindness you just did, and I appreciate it. I, for one, raise my cup of coffee to you, and thank you for that. Mickey, TGIF drinking my Pilon as well. What do I put in mine? What's the alcohol that people like to put in? I mean, I don't drink alcohol. I'm just kidding. French vanilla, sugar-free French vanilla creamer in mine. Just a tiny bit, like a half a shot glass. It's not even a shot glass. It's an espresso. You know, like those little espresso shot glasses. When I'm making coffee in the morning, I divvy up half the espresso to Jeannie, half the espresso to me, and then I take one of those little espresso shot glasses, and I fill it about halfway up with sugar-free espresso and throw that in, and then I'm done. Yep, that's it. Greg's asking, when is it going to cool off? Octobre? Yeah. Laura just pulled up to the next yard. Go. Stay hydrated. Be safe. Have fun. Oh, boy. Love you, Karen. Love it. All right. So let's talk Tropics. I'm only doing my head thing because it's like there's nothing, but there's also not nothing. So the official word from the National Hurricane Center, and I think that's fine. I get what they're doing. They're saying no tropical development expected in the next 7 days' time. I will also let you know that when they put their product together, it was a very specific reasoning that they used the term expected. Because there's some stuff, right? Like you can kind of see at the bottom of the screen there, there's some stuff going on. So let's do this. Let's take a bit of a deeper dive. And see what's doing. All right. So let me go to a blank map with no tropical development expected box there. Okay. So let's do this. Let's come over to the coast of Africa, because now we've got not just one, but like two decent waves rolling off the coast of Africa. Okay. Now, that said, again, the Hurricane Center's not expecting anything to develop over the next day's time. But there's more to it than just an expectation, right? We know that. So what we need to do is kind of dial in and just kind of get an idea of what's to come. So let's do this. Let me sign into, I know, Maps, GFS. I don't know why. I'm signing in. I'm going. Oh, for goodness sake. Oh my gosh. What's the password? Oh, for goodness sake. Hold on. I got to figure out what my stinking password is for this. Oh, this is annoying. Don't you love that you're on like live TV trying to figure this out? All right. All of y'all are going to make fun of me right now. Oh. All right, I'm in now. Okay. All right, let's move over. Atlantic Basin. Pressure. Normalized anomaly. The older I get, the more my brain just doesn't work. Okay, all right. So, what we're looking for here, just to give you an idea, what we're looking for here. So, there's the satellite. So, you got two decent waves. Now, I'll tell you, yesterday the models have just not been loving things. So, to the raw model data we go. And what we're looking for here is the colored blues, okay? The blue colors are kind of indicative of the lowered pressures, okay? So, let's roll through time here. And they're not. You see the Atlantic, at least on the GFS, the Atlantic is a sea of orange. So you're just not seeing much there, you know? The GFS, at least the operational, the deterministic run, is not trying to do much here, okay? Let's just roll through, though, and just keep seeing what's doing. Now, at this point here, we end up, and that's Thursday the 10th of August, okay? So that's getting into about a week from now. You've got a little wave around Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. But that's it. And then what you end up with is you've got now at this point, this is Sunday, August the 13th. You've got a wave around the west end of Cuba. You've got another wave north of Puerto Rico, and then yet again, another wave kind of around Africa. So let's come in a little closer here. And the GFS is kind of showing those two waves working perhaps over to Texas. Not a big scary look, but it's kind of showing mid-August stuff kind of approaching Texas. But what is that? That's like 1,003 millibar low. So at least it's not going too deep. But there you go. All right, now if I were to let me just backtrack here. And if I go back one model run, consistency-ish around Florida, and then kind of going up toward like the Panhandle is an 1,005 millibar low. All right, let's go back two model runs. Consistency. Go back three model runs. Somewhat of consistency. Four model runs. Back to Texas, but a much deeper low. So the reason that this is important is we're seeing same time point, okay, around the 10th, 12th, 13th, the GFS deterministic operational run is showing something around the Caribbean, Florida, the islands, in this view here, right? And then from there, it doesn't know where it goes, doesn't know how strong it goes. But there is somewhat of consistency in there being something there. So to me, right off the bat, that just tells me, okay, let's watch this, right? Now, there's consistency within that one model. Let's do this. Let's go all the way over here to the European, and let's just see European keeping things weak, not really doing much. But notice that's the 11th, and that's a wave around the Bahamas, Turks, and Caicos. And then it kind of fades it out, but it's a wave, and then there's another wave kind of back behind it there. Okay, now let's switch over to the Canadian, because here's the thing. I don't show the Canadian very often, but there's been something interesting with the Canadian. The Canadian has really been trying to develop these things, right? Like if we go back to the very beginning, it's got, some things, but nothing crazy. But right in there, you've got the first wave kind of approaching the Antilles. This is going to be Tuesday of next week. The second wave in the central Atlantic, and the Canadian is developing both of these waves. Weak as they may be, but it's important to note. And, there you go. That's the 12th. The Canadians kind of bringing like Puerto Rico, St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, bringing them a hurricane. Okay, there it is. And then from there, crossing over at least through the same pathway as the GFS. Now, that said, the Canadian loves spinning things up, so we have to keep that in mind. Let's go back a model run, though. Consistency in positioning and intensity. 2 model runs ago, consistency in position. 3 model runs ago, consistency in position-ish. So the Canadians had some consistency there. Okay? Interesting. Where does that Canadian model take it? Of course, we know the Canadian kind of takes it south of us, but eventually like toward the Gulf of Mexico a little bit, right? So that's, if nothing else, that's an interesting little bugger there. Am I scared? No. Should you be scared? Heck no. Heck no. No. Okay? All right, let's switch over and let's look at some ensemble plots. Oh, the Tropics. Always going and messing with me. The Tropics. Let me get these dialed up here. All right, it's loading. Okay, here we go. All right, so member-wise minimum. Okay, so let's take a look at the Tropics. This is, let me go to the full Basin view. So here is the GFS ensemble. Not really doing much. We're starting to see Central Atlantic there around the 9th. You're starting to see some ripples on the bottom. Starting to see some of those ripples, those little circles there. Yeah, so we're starting to get some hints of some things. And there you go. That's around the 13th, 14th. The different ensemble members are showing things around the Southeast and the Gulf. Not really knowing 100% what to make of it, but we're starting to see the ensemble members coming alive. Okay, that's the GFS. Let's come around. Let's do this. Let's go backward. And let's switch over to the European. And by the way, guys, I did get the BSR. All right, so let's go to European ensemble. Let me go to the Basin view. Couple of those ensemble members coming alive, right? You see some of those? Now, that's not, just so that we're all clear, what you're looking at is not a computer model saying that there's going to be 7 hurricanes. What you're looking at is 51 flavors of the European model, essentially, put together. And so it's, you're seeing, and so the European runs slightly different, like 51 different ways. So in this case, the ensemble members are saying around the 13th of August, according to the European, anywhere from like Bermuda all the way to the Yucatan Peninsula, right? But the European ensemble members are absolutely coming alive. Some weaker, some stronger, but that's an interesting little development there. So, at this point, while the Hurricane Center is saying no tropical development expected with these two, I'm going to sit here and tell you, let's watch it. Just because the models don't see things doesn't mean that there's not things there, right? The models are guidance, not gospel. It's very important. Guidance, not gospel. So because of that, we have to remember they have to kind of sniff the dirt a little bit. And until they do, they don't. So let's remember that. Now, I told you I've got the BSR dialed up. And I've got it on this new system. So let me just make sure to get that all dialed up. All right, so what is the BSR? So the BSR is a tool that we use to just kind of give us an idea of what may be to come. It's a long-range forecasting tool that I've been using for a few years now. It's a little non-conventional, so but essentially it gives you ideas. All right, so let's just roll through time and see what we see. So what you're really looking at is like the Pacific. All right, so we've got a little area of low pressure south of us, okay? That would be August the 18th. So the BSR would give us an inclination that there's a little area of low pressure south of us around August the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, somewhere in that window. And the models are kind of hinting at that, right? So based on that, there's something to watch. Now, there's also some stuff out east, out over the open Atlantic. That's like the 19th, 20th. So, but again, that little indicator right there, maybe that there's a little something passing by south of us. So that's going to be a little, think of this as like a teleconnection. It's a way to kind of look and see what the weather could be doing. So that little area of low pressure south of Florida there, around the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, that could be something, right? Yeah, it's not a promise, but it's just another indicator that the tropics need to be watched. Now, these two waves are working in an environment that is not perfectly supportive of tropical activity. Let me load the full Atlantic view on our Saharan air layer. And what you're looking at is the fact that there's still Saharan dust in the open Atlantic. So it's not perfect, but you notice that all of the dust is mostly north. And you'll also notice that the models that do try to develop this don't really develop it until it gets about here, away from the Saharan dust. So it all kind of is starting to make a little bit of sense, right? That's all. Something to watch, nothing to be afraid of. As far as wind shear goes, I don't know that this is going to be a decent. We haven't touched this in forever, so let me turn that off. Today plus 10. Let me just make a couple of tweaks to this. All right, so this is just looking at wind shear. Just give me a few seconds here. All right, so wind shear. So wind shear, notice, through next week, there's going to be some hostile terrain around. I'm just kind of looking to see, there's going to be some hostile terrain in the atmosphere, a lot of wind shear. But as that stuff theoretically would be working into the Caribbean Sea, like what were we looking at? Hold on, let me just cross-reference back. So the timeline on that would be around the 13th of August, right? So around the 13th of August, somewhere around the southeastern United States-ish. And based on that, you've got a ribbon of lowered wind shear from Florida through Cuba. So it looks like if there is a window of lowered wind shear, it would be in that window. So, again, it's just all these things coming together that are interesting features. But for right now, it's important to note the National Hurricane Center says no tropical development expected over the next 7 days' time. But the models are trying to sniff some things out. We've got plenty of time to track and plenty of time to watch, but that's kind of where we're at, okay? Any questions? Now that's done. Now we can answer some questions. Hi, how are you? I'm Eric. I'm a meteorologist. I'm a weather nerd. Any questions? I know there's a bunch of questions. Trish is asking, does this mid-August system align with anything in your long-range forecast? So when it comes to the long-range forecast, the only feature that we were really going with in mid-August was a system for the Carolinas around the 21st through the 29th. Now, that said, that's the only hot spot. But remember, we tracked all these other areas of low pressure, and because of that, I'm curious personally, if you look at these dates, like the Carolina storm system, you're looking in it was like mid-October, what have you. And so there were some other October dates, down here. So, could there be something that heads down toward Mexico or something to that effect? Sure. And remember that our hotspots in our hurricane season forecast just discuss areas that we think the pattern favors above average chance for landfall, but that doesn't mean that it's the only areas. So wesh.com/hurricane forecast is the place to go for that. We have time to have a coffee talk when a hurricane is close or approaching. I find this so helpful and wonderful. Well, first off, Julie, good morning. Listen, I do a ton of coffee talks. I do it every day at 8 o'clock. But like when tropical stuff's approaching, like I'll do special updates and things like that. So I will tell you, when tropical systems are approaching us, this boy gets really busy. Not to the point of fun. It's not fun. Somebody asked if the Canadian model had ensembles. It does. I don't know that I've ever even shown that. So why not? Yeah, let me do that. And let me go back and I'll show the Canadian ensembles. That's a great point, and I appreciate it. All right. So I did not show it, and my apologies. All right. So here's the ensemble models for the Canadian. And right off the bat, notice that there's some circles out there in the Atlantic Basin, right? We'll bring it in a little closer. And yeah, so you've got ensemble members showing a really wide swath of terrain. So what that tells me is that we're getting some hits on the ensemble members. We're not getting a ton of hits on the operational members. So at the moment, it's something to watch. At the moment, I'm just revealing behind the curtain of what the National Hurricane Center's looking at, and what us meteorologists are looking at, right? That's just looking behind the curtain to see. Doesn't mean that anything's going to hit us. God willing, it doesn't, but we'll be watching. Chris says, oh, he makes time. Yeah, my wife knows that when hurricanes and tropical systems are threatening us, I'm really dialed in to work, posting like a crazy person. Yeah. So, yes, you can... I worked hard to earn trust, and I will never stop working to earn trust. Melanie says, it's early for hurricanes, ? No. We've already had our first hurricane, and those of us longtime Central Floridians will remember 19 years ago... which is going to take me a minute to like emotionally be okay with that. 19 years ago, it was August the 13th that Hurricane Charlie made landfall. What? Yeah. So that's a rough realization. But at any rate, yeah, it's not too early for hurricanes. Kelly, I have a question. You keeping that hurricane away from my birthday in November? Better get to work on that. I'll do the best I can. Yeah. Anne-Marie, will I be doing a coffee talk at 3:30 today? I will try. I will definitely try, yeah. Cheers to Canada and poutine. Oh, yeah, poutine's good. Thank you, Annie. I appreciate that. Can't miss a thing that way. Thank you. I appreciate it. Rosa says you're my favorite. Thank you. I appreciate it. Melanie says we appreciate your posting and dedication. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So should we start panic? No, Tim. We should not start panicking at all. There should be no panic. Oh, man. Ashley says, I'll never forget Charlie. I'll never forget Charlie either. I've got pictures of me tracking the radar at another television station in Central Florida. And now I get to beat the snot out of him. Chris says it's true. He posts like a crazy person any weather significant day and double with hurricanes. Yeah, I mean, if I post so much during hurricanes that you'll be annoyed with me, and that's the truth. I post like crazy. Yeah. Catherine says 19. No, it's not possible. I was a freshman in high school then. That can't be right. Look, I was in college. Hurricane Charlie for me was really the first hurricane I did wall-to-wall coverage in, and I'll never forget it. Yep. Carol says, I was new to Florida last year, and Eric was the voice of reason last season. Thank you. I will never stop working to keep that trust. I appreciate that you've given it to me. I promise you I'll never stop working for it. Also, I'm really glad I don't have to post like a million things right now. I'm really glad the models are not being putsy. Let's just keep it that way. That's all. But as you can see, that may not be the case. Okay, we can deal with that. Do what we got to do. That's all. All right, any questions, comments, concerns, anything? Otherwise, I'm going to go mow the grass. We all must make a shortcut to Eric's account, X account. Yeah, on the old Twitter. Yeah, I always tell everybody, even if you don't have Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, you can always go to my, the web address, which I think is still twitter.com/Eric Burris Wesh. But if you go there, you can just go, and it's kind of like a news feed. And when there are hurricanes, I'm posting like crazy. Annie says Ocala needs rain, so if y'all don't want to blow it over this way. Yeah, there's not going to be a ton of rain today. Next couple of days you can see, though, a little higher, a little lower, but not particularly stormy days at any point. All right? That's where we're at. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much for hanging out for Coffee Talk. We'll do it again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And, I'll try and grab the 3:30 today. I'll try and grab that. All right? Be good. Take care. Y'all have a great Friday.